And well, we're very excited for this interview and very honored to have you here with us.
Bueno.
We are very pleased to be here and we thank you very much for the invitation.
Yes, thank you. Hello, everybody.
Hello, nice to meet you. Bueno.
También están muy emocionados de poder estar acá con nosotros y y que les manda a todos un gran saludo.
Bueno, entremos en materia, empecemos entonces a hablar con ellos y hacerles las preguntas que todos queremos de todas las cosas, de todos los temas que queremos conocer. Lo primero que yo quisiera preguntarles es, ¿cómo descubrieron las cuerdas? ¿Por qué se interesaron en aprender de Shibari, siendo pues personas occidentales, obviamente, y pues sabiendo que llevan ya años en esta práctica, que iniciaron cuando no era tan popular y gracias a ellos pues se ha popularizado? ¿Cómo fue ese proceso de descubrimiento y de acercarse a las cuerdas inicialmente?
Mr. Horus asks, how did you discover the ropes and why were you so interested in learning to tie? Seeing that in the Western hemisphere was not a very well-known art, and even though you guys already had some type of experience due to the exposure, and thanks to you, it has become something well known. So how was that process of you getting to make it something so special as you have made it right now?
Well, I mean, I suppose before I really got into Shibari per se, I was doing some very basic bedroom bondage. You know, sort of nothing very much more sophisticated than sort of hands together or limbs to various parts of the bed or whatever. And then I read an article in a magazine. It was, I think it might even have been a Swiss magazine, but anyway, it was an article about Shibari, and they were talking about the sort of psychological aspect of it and the connective aspect of it. And I went, oh, that sounds pretty cool. Suddenly, you know, this thing that was sort of this much, the bedroom bondage, suddenly became, bang, you know, this huge different subject. And that was probably around about 20 years ago that I started, maybe slightly more even, that I started looking into it. So yeah, I'll shut up and let you translate that because I could talk for half an hour.
That's okay, but it'd be nice to also hear Nina's. So I will start with Mr. Bruce's translation. Antes de entrar al Shibari, estaba haciendo un Shibari muy básico en la habitación, como atado de manos y otras partes del cuerpo. Luego leí en una entrevista suiza sobre el Shibari y estaban hablando sobre la parte psicológica, el aspecto de la conexión, algo que fue bastante pequeño, que inició bastante pequeño, de repente se volvió en algo supremamente grande, y esto fue hace por ahí unos 20 años. Okay.
I started Shibari 10 years ago, maybe a bit more, 11, 12. And I saw an image on the internet, and that just of Shibari, somebody else did it. There was this girl tied in the rope. She was beautiful and she was so vulnerable. And I said, I want to feel the same. I want to find a strong man who can tie me that way so I can feel vulnerable. And it happened. It happened. So for me, it was more of a personal, not need, but kinky need. And that's what dragged me into Shibari. And though there was not a lot available at the time, Russ, that organized festival, that of course he brings in the Europe many teachers. So that was a very great help in my at least learning process.
Okay. Give me 1 second. And the last note, learning process. I don't want to forget that one. That's super important because it's something that we have like here in the community, we've stressed a lot. La señorita Nina dice que sobre el Shibari, hace un poco más de 10 años, ella vio una imagen en internet de Shibari de una mujer que estaba completamente hermosa, se veía vulnerable y sintió ese gran deseo para poder sentir lo mismo y que sabía que debía encontrar un hombre fuerte que le pudiera brindar esto. Era una necesidad perversa. No había desafortunadamente en ese momento mucha disponibilidad sobre la materia, pero gracias a Bruce, quien organizó un festival y trajo varios maestros, el cual ayudó a su proceso de aprendizaje. Okay?
Yes, perfect.
I'm not sure if you'd wish to add anything else.
I can add plenty if you want.
No problem.
Well, that interest went from there to, bearing in mind this is 20 years ago, so there wasn't a lot of information available. There was virtually nothing on the internet worth looking at, and so the only resource that I had available was Midori's book. So I got that, and then I found that Midori was in town, and I went to one of her workshops. And I've always given her credit for the fact that she was the one that actually started to teach the connective angle, something more than just tying people up, the dominance. And I remember very much from that workshop that she'd talked about these things, and that really struck me along with the article. And I thought, yes, that's how I want to tie. Don't want to just tie pretty patterns. You know, I want to make it count. I want to create a feeling from it. And so I floundered around doing my own thing, picking up whatever information I could, watching two people that were doing rope here, John Blake and Kazuyo. John Blake, also known as Nawashi Murakawa.
I'm sorry, could you please repeat that last name?
Nawashi Murakawa. Murakawa.
Le voy a pedir al señor Charles que si me puede ayudar porque sí soy muy poco familiarizada con esos nombres.
An English guy.
Oh, es que Nawashi Murakawa es un maestro también de Shibari, es un maestro reconocido dentro de la comunidad de Reino Unido.
Yes.
He has a very unique style. It's very chaotic, but there's something rather wonderful about it. The guy's an artist anyway, a very good graphic artist. So what he does is art. It's not conventional patterns and things like that. It's his own style, certainly.
Okay.
To translate.
Yes. I'm sorry, I could get lost in this. Fue algo muy interesante porque desde este punto, teniendo en cuenta que fue algo hace 20 años, había muy poca información y no había casi nada en internet, yo me di cuenta que viene Mori y tomo esa oportunidad para tomar un taller con ella y me doy cuenta que es más que dominancia, es más que una dominante. En este taller ella me enseñó cómo crear en las personas aquí en Ato un sentimiento y desde allí fui recogiendo información por aquí y por allá hasta lograr uno con Maroshi Murakawa, perdón si lo estoy diciendo mal, quien tiene un estilo muy único, es un gran artista, no es solamente ataduras convencionales.
Bueno, y Charles, no sé si tienes alguna pregunta allí o Berilio.
No, todo en orden.
Dale, Berilio.
Perfecto. Bueno, me surgió una inquietud aquí. 10 años y 20 años en el mundo del Shibari, un gran recorrido. ¿En qué momento cada uno de ustedes descubre que deja de ser una práctica como de intimidad, como personal, como de juego, y se convierte en algo público y algo tan grande como lo que hoy vemos en redes sociales.
We just need a bit of translation.
Yeah, I didn't.
Ana.
Is somebody translating that?
Yeah. I think Anna, maybe just the connection is not maybe.
¿Escuchan?
Ahora sí, Ana, ahora sí te estamos
Okay.
escuchando.
10 años y 20 años, okay, 10 years and 20 years in the world of Shibari, which is a long run. At what point do you discover that it's time to stop leaving this as an intimate practice and making it something public that is what we see on social media today?
I will answer first. For me, at least, it's been the other way around. It's been first public and then moved into private. So into me having fun privately. I started doing Shibari directly as a performer, as we both organized Bound, which was plenty of time ago. And my learning also happened on stage directly. So it was not as much bondage bedroom, was more performance Shibari, was on stage in front of the people, more acrobatic and less intimate. More circus type of Shibari, suspension. And then with time, the better I got doing Shibari, the more I understood the importance of the connection part, of the intimacy between who's tying and who is being tied. But it took a while till I understood that. So the better I got, the easier being connected it got. It was I was in the right space mind to actually, do more flow work, because I was undervaluing flow work. I was only doing suspension, and then caress more, touch a bit more, and then, but it took experience for that.
La señorita Nina nos cuenta que para ella fue todo lo contrario. De hecho, empezó como algo público y lentamente con la experiencia, con la conexión que fue creando, entendió desde la parte privada esa diversión, ¿cierto? Desde el aspecto privado, ya que esto comenzó como una actuación donde estaba en un escenario sobre una tarima. Y lentamente a lo que ella iba encontrando su conexión con quien la estaba atando, encontró ya como esa parte de intimidad, disfrutar las caricias de las cuerdas, encontrar ese espacio mental y empezó también que fuera un trabajo mucho más fluido, no solamente desde la suspensión. Mr. Bruce?
Well, not long after I started learning a bit of Shibari, I was doing some in the dungeon at Torture Garden, and one of the staff said, "Oh, that was nice. Will you come back and do some more?" So I went, "Yeah." They put me on the guest list, and I've been going there for years, and from that my sort of performance career developed. And I must add, the stuff that I was doing initially, I'm glad there aren't many photos of that still in existence, because it was awful. But from there, my performance career developed. I guess from my sort of very earliest stuff, my first exposure to sort of real Japanese style was with Matthias Grimmer, Draken Man, German rigger, one of the sort of early Asada Steve students. From there, in 2006, I met Arasui Go in London by coincidence, and then went out for tuition with him, and from there Asada Steve, and so on and so forth. Yeah. you name it.
Okay. ¿Me escuchan?
Yeah. Do you
Okay.
want me to remind you of anything?
Just the name of the one met in London.
Matthias Grimme.
No, that was Arisuigo.
Arisuigo, sorry. I'm sorry.
Arisuigo is
Okay.
Japanese because she living in Tokyo.
He done Hana to Happy, one of the most famous movies. Exactly.
Yeah,
Hana
he
to
did the
Happy.
rope.
Flor y serpiente, la película.
Yes.
Eso. El señor Bruce agrega que para él había sido todo lo contrario, pues lo contrario de la señorita Nina, ya que él en uno de los, en una de las mazmorras donde visitaba, alguien le dio un halago sobre una de sus ataduras, que él se alegra mucho, que no hay muchas evidencias y muchas fotos porque era algo completamente que él describe horrible, pero que lentamente lo fueron pidiendo más y más para poder hacer como tipo de exposición. Tuvo la oportunidad de conocer grandes atadores. Uno de estos fue en Londres con el señor Aris Siruko, quien vive en este momento en Tokio y es pues, uno de los grandes.
Arisugo.
Arisuko, perdón.
Bueno, yo quiero preguntarles, ¿en qué momento esto que pues empieza como pues una atracción y hacen, pues empiezan como con este juego de cuerdas, se convierte en una forma de vida y se convierte definitivamente en su actividad principal de la que en este momento, pues a la que en este momento se dedican de tiempo completo?
When was the moment where you decide to take this beautiful art and live from it?
Well, in my case was pretty easy because I moved to London. When I moved to London, I was doing Shibari in Italy. I lived there for 11 years. So I started already doing some Shibari, but just for, you know, between friends, nothing professional. And then when I moved to London, I've become Bruce's student, and I had to prepare my document. The guys asked me, so what are you doing? What is your job? So I said, I'm doing Shibari. So that's how Shibari has become my job, just by declaring it. It was not yet a job, but that was the intention. And being in London, it was very easy to find clubs to perform. So I started right away going in clubs and performing and start making money. It was not much to think. It was not a hard decision. It's just where you put your energy, that's from where you're going to get your money out of.
Well, that and Bound and then Shibari classes.
Well, yeah. And then we, as a job, additional job, we've been together organizing Bound. It was a Shibari night. It ran for almost 4 years. So the festival and Bound. And Bound was organized by me, well, together, mainly, yeah, but mainly by me. And that gave me the opportunity to establish Shibari as my main job by organizing the event.
Ok. La señorita dice que en el caso de ella, hacer Shibari empezó a hacer Shibari en Italia para unos amigos, no era nada profesional. Cuando llegó a Londres empezó a ser estudiante del señor Bruce, le preguntaron en la entrevista que ella qué hacía y ella dijo pues Shibari. En realidad no es que estaba trabajando en Shibari, pero era su intención, que era algo muy fácil de hacer, pues ella como dice que ella empezó algo público, no desde lo privado, y era muy fácil ya que en Londres hay varios clubs donde se presentan este tipo de arte. Y empezó a ganar dinero, y pues donde le pones la energía, le pones el corazón, empiezas a tener lucridad de esta. En donde ella pudo realmente sedimentar esto como una profesión, como algo parte de su vida para vivir de él, fue cuando organizó con Bruce su primer festival llamado Bond, y allí fue donde supo que era algo que de lo que ella podía vivir de ello. Mr. Bruce.
I've been running the sort of rope business for quite a few years as a sort of sideline, whilst I had a full-time job, and I was at the time that I actually sort of gave up doing this. I started a small business with some friends installing wood floors, and we got a job doing 500 square meters in this school, and I made about $50,000 in about 6 weeks in the bank profit. And I thought, sod this hard work, I'm going to go full-time Shibari, and that was it.
That's the decision. Everyone can become, you know, everyone can make Shibari their work if they really want to.
Because, I mean, the thing is, I could have easily, if I started running out of money, I could have easily gone and put a few floors in and made some money. So I knew I wasn't going to starve. It was just that it just went longer and longer and longer, but, you know, before I took any jobs, and in the end I didn't take any jobs. So
Okay.
it worked, yeah. And
you were able to live off Shibari.
Yeah, it was mainly from the rope business, because, and workshops, teaching and teaching exactly. and the rope business, yeah, because performing doesn't really make a lot of money, to be honest.
Okay.
Most clubs haven't, you know, aren't paying a lot of money, and there's only a limited number of Shibari shows that people want to see because it's a little bit niche, you know. I mean, yeah, if you do something big and spectacular, but to get sort of main stage at Torture Garden and some decent money, it needs to be pretty spectacular, and sort of one-on-one Shibari is not really their sort of scene. Although they have had Kinbaku there, and a friend of mine who does very high self-suspensions, very spectacular stuff, does very well there, because that's big and visual. Kinbaku did okay there because he did the sort of cyber show and all sorts of other stuff, you know, with lasers and, you know, perfect for a big noisy club. But in Torture Garden, you know, if you were just doing a regular Shibari show,
Okay.
Nobody will look at you.
nobody would be turn around from their dancing and stuff. You know, you've got to realize that they've got a very short little attention span.
Okay. Bueno, él menciona que él ha estado manejando de una forma u otra como un negocio aparte, el negocio de las cuerdas, que hace algunos años, de hecho, él apenas lo tomó como un trabajo completo sin mucho pensarlo, aunque tenía principalmente un negocio de pisos donde llegó a ganar $50,000 en 6 semanas. Y fue algo, pues fue una ganancia de $50,000. Era un trabajo muy duro y pues también le iba dedicando tiempo al Shibari y a los talleres, y cuando menos pensó ya veía que no se iba mucho hacia el trabajo convencional de los pisos. Entonces, y vuelve y recalca con Nina que todo aquello que tú le pongas amor, cariño, esfuerzo, dedicación, buena energía, se puede lograr. Que al principio él empezó más que todo era con las cuerdas por medio de los talleres, que los escenarios desafortunadamente no se prestan para no shows si no tienen como mucho sí, espectáculo, exactamente, láser, humo, luces, y no son muy apetecidos con mucha frecuencia. Así que era algo que los shows, no, los espectáculos no, sí son muy importantes, pero no se hace como mucha ganancia de ellos.
Bueno, ¿y cómo está el ambiente en este momento en Inglaterra? el movimiento del Shibari. De hecho, hay público ya para este tipo de espectáculos, ha crecido la comunidad y ha crecido los espectadores de este tipo de espectáculos y del Shibari en general, o todavía la comunidad son unos cuantos interesados pues por los talleres y por aprender, pues quienes como nosotros somos apasionados del tema y que nos interesa, pero no es para la gran masa. ¿Cómo perciben ustedes eso allí en Europa en general? Además, también Nina, si nos puede dar algunas impresiones de Italia.
You entendí, I've understood, but I think Bruce needs to understand as well better. So I just make sure that
spoken Spanish.
Yeah. But if
No
we
problem,
have
no
to
problem.
Written, I can read it.
Anna, please help us. No, I don't know that.
Well, I can answer anyhow if I well understood the question. I mean, is how, considering how the world is now, how has changed during the time, like how has it changed, has it improved, but generally, right?
Do you mean pandemic or?
No, in general.
In general.
In general.
Yeah, like how people view this art. Has it like, has the population grown, or is it still very reserved? Like, a few interested as what is happening here in Colombia?
There's certainly growing an interest here, and there's certainly a very stable sort of population. I mean, for example, somebody opened a studio quite close to us, and I thought, are they ever going to survive with London rents and stuff? And I wasn't optimistic, but they're still here. They've survived many years and they're doing well. And yes, I mean, I think it's certainly becoming a little bit more mainstream, in so much as it's being used in advertising. A lot of bands are using Shibari in their videos, etc. Even Tom Ford used, Shibari in his fashion work.
What is indeed interesting is that the way Shibari is seen in Japan compared to the way we see it, in Japan, it's mainly pornographic, so porn movies, or yes, it's in the era of the erotic, not even sex couple, just pornographic, clearly pornographic. In Europe, we've been transforming, we've been interpreting as an art form, but it was, like performances, like I said, very spectacular performances, was mainly about suspension, especially at the beginning. It was,
It's more sexual in Japan, I think.
But that's what I said.
Yeah, more sexual generally, though. I mean, here,
it's very often to find it important more than in between husband and wife. That's not kind of what you find.
Yes, but I mean, if people are doing sort of Shibari sessions, they tend to be much more sexually oriented, I think, there than they are here, probably.
Yeah, that's right.
Here, a lot of people are sort of almost distancing themselves from the sexual and the SM side and saying, oh no, we're doing art.
Yeah. Oh, we are friends. We are friends. We don't do sex. We don't do Shibari as a sex form or intimate. It was never personal. It was never intimate. It was more macrame. So,
But that's our whole approach to it. A lot of people, not that they, I mean, I mean, sure, we have people that we do rope with on all sorts of different bases. And a lot of the time it's entirely professional, if I'm tying some sort of Vogue model or whatever, with my head between her legs, I've got to be 100% professional, and my tying is very mechanical rather than how I would be tying for fun. Yeah.
How nice. Okay. Pues al inicio pues no era muy optimista, pues pensaba que pues para sobrevivir en esto iba a ser un poco difícil, pero se ha vuelto algo mucho más convencional porque está ya en las publicidades, en videos. De hecho, Tom Ford lo utilizó en un trabajo de moda. La diferencia en cómo se ve en Europa a cómo se ve en Japón es que la forma que se vive el shibari en Japón es más pornográfico, es más erótico, más desde la parte sexual, ¿cierto? En Europa se ha estado interpretando de una forma de arte, son actuaciones muy especiales. eh, en Japón es más orientado al sexo. Aquí ya se ha logrado que sea un arte. De hecho, se puede desarrollar entre amigos de forma profesional. Yo con otra persona soy muy profesional y soy muy mecánico, con diferencia a cuando lo practico con Nina, que es algo más especial, con una conexión mucho más fuerte.